Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Reedboard, and this is More Than Meds, where I talk about psychotherapy and psychologically informed psychiatry. In my last video, I differentiated therapy, generic term, from psychotherapy, a much more specific term. As I was saying, therapy can apply to many things, talking to a chatbot, artificial intelligence, taking a vacation, even shopping is considered retail therapy. Psychotherapy is much more specific. Psychotherapy is a planned, formalized relationship with a helping professional to help you address problematic thoughts, feelings, and relationship patterns. Psychotherapy is to help you change. But we can break that down further. There's different kinds of psychotherapy. And in this video, I'd like to talk about the main kinds and whether any one kind is best. Historically, psychotherapy was based in psychoanalysis and in psychodynamics. The intent is to resolve conflicts and to encourage healing within the therapeutic relationship. For some reason, people now assume that psychotherapy is all about support and advice, getting encouragement, getting tools for how to manage your thoughts and feelings. But that's pretty recent and misleading. For change to occur, you have to get past the defenses that keep you from understanding what's really bothering you, and you have to face painful truths. Traditional psychotherapy, which I'll be calling psychodynamic psychotherapy, has always been a balance of support and insight. Back when I was in training, which was when dinosaurs roamed the earth, we were taught to provide as much support as needed and to strive for as much insight as possible. That is to say, support was sometimes a necessary condition to do the work, but the real goal was to help the person understand themselves better. While the original idea, as proposed by Freud, was that insight would lead to change, that's become understood not as an intellectual pursuit, not as understanding something about yourself in an intellectual way, but to incorporate an insight, not so much here, but here. If you think about it, healing through relationship is how we developed our personalities in the first place. We didn't come with an instruction manual. We weren't taught how to think about ourselves and the world. Instead, we learned that through our relationships with our early caregivers. We learned how to feel about ourselves. We developed a self-identity. We developed a relational style with other people. And if those didn't go perfectly initially, a healing therapeutic relationship can help later. There are a number of related schools that de-emphasize the cognitive idea of insight, but really emphasize the healing relationship. And those include the humanistic school and the existentialist school of therapy, the latter particularly focused on questions of finding meaning in life or finding meaning in the suffering that's an inevitable part of life. There's a kind of therapy called Gestalt therapy, which is a humanistic type that focuses on the here and now experience of the patient or client and looks at the person in a kind of total fashion of mind, body, and emotion. For most of the 20th century, the word psychotherapy really meant one of these kinds of psychotherapies. Collectively, we can call them depth therapy, depth psychotherapy. Depth psychotherapy aims to get at the root of problems and assumes there's more to it than what's seen just on the surface. Depth psychotherapy is best when problems are ill-defined, for chronic interpersonal problems, for questions of self-identity, and for early childhood trauma once a person can talk about that trauma. Sometimes early childhood trauma requires other approaches before it can really be talked about verbally. It's for knowing yourself better, getting to underlying issues, and addressing the fundamental questions of life. It's not really about getting advice, tips, tools for how to manage yourself. There's no homework assignments. There's no practice. Depth psychotherapy often takes months or even years, and such therapies are unique every time. Not only is no one person's psychotherapy the same as anyone else's, but also even for the same person, the same patient or client, if they see a different therapist, it will be a different psychotherapy, because the healing is in the relationship, and in each case the relationship is different, it's unique. Meanwhile, there's another kind of psychotherapy, and it's based in cognitive science and in learning theory. It usually goes by the name cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, and many people consider it the gold standard of psychotherapy nowadays. It's not. The fundamental idea is that if you change your thinking, your feelings will follow. How we think about external events affects us more than the external events themselves. The focus is on the sad or anxiety-provoking thoughts you're having and how they lead to sad or anxious feelings. There's no real focus on what caused you to be sad or anxious in the first place. CBT treats symptoms, anxiety, depression, insomnia, and a number of others as well. There's CBT for hearing voices, for psychosis, and for other symptoms of psychiatric disturbance. CBT is best for the relief of concrete symptoms, as an alternative to medication, for example, which in most cases is also for relief of concrete symptoms. This approach offers concrete practice, tools for managing your feelings, homework assignments, and so forth. There are a number of refinements to CBT, including the so-called third wave therapies that include aspects of mindfulness meditation and other features. They go by many different names and are often known by their 3 or 4 letter abbreviations. However, as a group, we can call them symptom-focused psychotherapy as opposed to depth psychotherapy. Symptom-focused psychotherapy doesn't aim to get to the root of problems. Symptom-focused psychotherapy doesn't aim to help you get deep insights about yourself, nor is the therapeutic relationship considered healing in itself. Instead, there are specific exercises and practices aimed to change your thinking and therefore your emotion in specific ways. Since the focus is on concrete symptoms, such psychotherapies have always been relatively easy to study. It's comparatively easy to make a rating scale of mood or anxiety, to measure it session by session, and to document how those symptoms improve over time. Consider, in contrast, how difficult it would be to make a rating scale of increased meaning in life or satisfaction in relationships. It's just harder to study. As a result, there's a lot of research that documents that symptom-focused psychotherapies effectively treat symptoms. As a result, CBT and related psychotherapies are often called quote-unquote evidence-based, which is true, but can be misleading. For one thing, the evidence only pertains to the specific symptoms that were studied. If you are seeking psychotherapy for depressed mood specifically, then yes, CBT for depression is evidence-based for that. But a lot of people seek psychotherapy for other things. If you're seeking psychotherapy because your life isn't working out right, or things just don't feel right in your life, if you have dysfunctional relationships, if you're always dissatisfied with every job you've had and you've gone from job to job and it seems to always be true that you're not happy with them, if that same kind of dissatisfaction is true in your romantic relationships, that again and again they don't work out but you can't quite say why, so-called evidence-based psychotherapy is not evidence-based for that. Evidence-based is not a generic good housekeeping seal of approval. It's evidence-based only for specific indications. And a lot of people aren't seeking therapy for those specific indications. Another reason that the term evidence-based may be misleading is that there's some recent evidence that the improvements don't last very long after the psychotherapy has stopped. This is a matter of some controversy, and I'm not here to tell you one way or the other whether that's true, but I do want to bring it to your attention that there has been lately some concern about the fact that recent studies of symptom-focused psychotherapy are not as good, the results, I should say, are not as good as the initial studies that were done some years ago, and also that after the therapy is over, there's a kind of decay in the improvement that has occurred. And actually, if you think about it, that could be expected, given what we know about learning theory, that if a certain kind of behavior is reinforced, as it is in symptom-focused psychotherapy, and then the reinforcement ends, the improvement may extinguish. But the main reason evidence-based is misleading is that the depth psychotherapies are also evidence-based. Let me give you a little analogy with peanut butter. Once I was in a grocery store or supermarket and I saw a jar of peanut butter on the shelf with a label that said, "No cholesterol." Because I'm a doctor, I immediately thought, that's brilliant marketing. Why is it brilliant marketing? Because there's no cholesterol in peanuts. Never. Matter of fact, there's no cholesterol in any animal products at all. So unless your favorite peanut butter has bacon fat in it or something, there's never any cholesterol in peanut butter. But by advertising their particular brand, no cholesterol, that sounds like a selling point, and it also falsely implies that you need to be careful about all the other peanut butter you might buy, even though there's nothing to be careful about. And of course, and my point in this analogy should be obvious, that yes, symptom-focused psychotherapies are evidence-based, just like that peanut butter with no cholesterol. But that doesn't distinguish them from the other mainstream psychotherapies. They're also evidence-based. There's a kind of false implication that depth psychotherapies lack that evidence base. That's not at all true. So everything I've talked about so far today are all mainstream evidence-based psychotherapies. And there is no one size that fits all when it comes to psychotherapy. There's no one clear winner that's best for everyone. It depends on what you seek out of psychotherapy and also what kind of person you are. Do you like concrete protocols and instructions and you really can't stand ambiguity and meandering conversations without an obvious goal? Well, if that's the kind of person you are, you're really going to be much happier with a symptom-focused psychotherapy. Conversely, if you want to get to the roots of your problems and really don't mind ambiguity and uncertainty on the path to getting there, if you can accept that issues that you're struggling with may be complicated and unclear, then depth psychotherapy is really more what you're looking for. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. If you like these videos and want to see more, please subscribe, and I'll talk to you next time.